Howdy people! In this week's edition of the
Builds You Don't Play,
we're gonna take a look at a build that is mostly considered to be a meme by the D2 community. And I have to say, I pretty much agree with that assessment. With that being said, I think it's still a playable build and it's worth some consideration if you wanna do something different on your Amazon. This is gonna be my take on the dreaded Fendzon. I hope you enjoy. This character has two main offensive abilities. You have Fend and Jab. Fend will hit every enemy around you, so in an optimal situation, that is when you are surrounded and have lots of targets to hit, it'll have higher DPS output than Jab. So when you have lots of targets, you wanna stick to Fend. Eventually, of course, you will run out of targets, and at that point you wanna switch over to Jab to mop things up. The reason why most people are gonna have a bad time with this character is because of the evade talents. If you don't know, they have this annoying glitch attached to them that if they trigger while you are in the middle of your attack animation, the evasion will cancel out your attacks. You'll still visibly see the attack and you are locked into the animation of it, but nothing will happen to the enemies. So if you wanna take away anything from this build video, my recommendation is that you just ignore those talents outright. Losing out on the defensive abilities kinda sucks, since this character would actually really benefit from them if they functioned properly, but skipping them will ultimately lead to a better performance of this character. When properly built, this character is perfectly capable of doing player-safe bail waves too, by the way. You probably won't be breaking any speed records with your runtimes, but just the fact that you are able to do them at all is probably more than most people would expect from a build like this. The biggest aspect of your gear composition is the weapon that you are gonna use. My choice is Breath of the Dying in a war pike. I've seen a lot of guides online that recommend making this in a matriarchal pike, and I would definitely recommend against that. Not only does the mat pike have worse base damage than the war pike, but they have the exact same attack speed breakpoints, and bot D in a war pike is actually useful on other stuff as well. Dedicating a sword rune solely for the purpose of playing this character build is a big investment, and one that I definitely can't recommend making. Another really nice spear option is an Hone Sundan, which has a lot of crushing blow but a little less raw damage. Whatever weapon you settle upon, check out the IAS breakpoints for both Fend and Jab. Warpike happens to have a pretty decent breakpoint for both of them at 125 IAS, so that'll be my goal when it comes to the rest of my gear. My gloves are Laying of Hands, Amulet is High Lords. You see these two items on most of the endgame melee characters. And speaking of items you often see, the helm is a G-face. Breath of the Dying doesn't have any crushing blow or deadly strike on it, so this item compensates for that. The IAS jewel on the helm is very much needed. If you have been counting, the items so far put us 10 IAS away from the 125 breakpoint. The rest of the IAS I need I get from my belt. Now I would love to run either a String of Ears or a Rax in this slot to get some more FCR for teleporting or more damage reduction for survivability, but I really needed the IAS from my belt slot to get to that 125. It's not like Nosferatus is a bad belt though, the stats on it are actually pretty solid. My body armor is Enigma, as you might have gathered from the footage I've been showing you so far. The thing is, I'm mostly doing traversal runs on this character, and the way my map is rolled, Enigma is basically mandatory to make the runs efficient at all. Boots are Gore Riders. The first ring is Ravenfrost for that essential cannot be frozen. For the other ring, I use this rare ring with light and fire resistance. The weapon and the belt actually give me more than enough life leads already, so the life leads on the ring ain't actually mandatory, but hey, more is always better, right? And of course we got the CTA and the Spirit Shield on swap. Now the Spirit Shield is actually my only source of FCR2 on this character, so my teleporting speed, given the horrendous Amazon breakpoints, is absolute dog shit. It's still faster than running around, but I wouldn't wanna farm any area that required a lot of teleporting with this character. Inventory is all the unique charms, that's Torch, Annie and Geats, and then basically max damage AR charms with some resistance charms mixed in there. I also got some FHR charms in here. Both Fend and Jab are actually uninterruptible attacks, so you don't have to be too concerned about your FHR breakpoints. I went for the 52 breakpoint on this character just because it was relatively small investment given the charms I had access to. For stats, it's gonna be 0 into energy, 0 into dex, then enough vitality to get to 3k life with battle orders, and then rest of the points into strength for more damage. For skills, I maxed Jab and Fend, obviously. Then in the passive skill tree, I maxed Penetrate for attack rating. I also grabbed Decoy because it's nice to have that during bail runs. And after that, I was kinda done. There's really nothing mandatory for this build to grab anymore. Some people would probably max out Critical Strike at this point, but that skill gets hit really hard with diminishing returns towards the end. So what I did instead was I grabbed Charged Strike to help me deal with the occasional physical immunes. Now, a charged strike with low synergies and no minus enemy lightning resistance on your gear ain't gonna be a big game changer. So it's not gonna perform any miracles for you, but it might save a little bit of time here and there. If you don't like it, fine, feel free to put those extra skill points into something else. Merc setup is Ethereal Reapers, a Kyros Guardian, and a Guardian Angel. All with IAS jewels in them to allow the Merc to hit the 42 IAS breakpoint. I'm mostly interested in doing Traversal, and for that area this is a pretty solid gear setup for the Merc. For the sample run portion this week, I'm gonna show you a few Traversal runs. If you really wanna do some trav runs on an Amazon, I think this build might be your best bet for it. In my experience, Javazon doesn't usually do too well at Traversal. Ice Bowazon can be okay, but for that character you need a really good map if you wanna be efficient. The Fendzon in Trav plays a lot like a two-handed Zealer. It's a lot worse of course because you do not have fanaticism and your teleport frames are basically garbage, but if you only have an Amazon to work with, this build is not too bad. I like using Town Portal at the end of the run. You can also teleport back to the waypoint, but the Town Portal feels a little bit more comfortable for me, especially given that you have easy access to your stash and Cane for identifying in the Act 3 town. In this run, there's a monster in here somewhere with Holy Freeze, but because of the visual chaos that's going on, I can't really tell which one it is. Usually the Holy Freeze unique is pretty easy to take down with Jab if you can spot it. here you can also see the charge strike in action against stone-skinned Ismail. I find that if you teleport on top of him, you usually get pretty good connections with the charge bolts. And that about does it for this week. Thanks for watching guys, Sigtoid out.